Hi there, hope you're having a pleasant day wherever you may be. Today I'm on the hunt for some mythical creatures, but lucky for me, they can't chase me. I'm at Goblin Valley State Park in southern Utah. Goblin Valley State Park is located in a very remote part of central southern Utah between I-70 and the town of Hanksville. So, what exactly is Goblin Valley State Park? Well, it's simply put a large collection of really unique looking hoodoos. And for those of you that have been playing along at home, you probably realize that I'm kind of a sucker for hoodoos. I've made several videos about or including hoodoos, so if you'd like to check any of those out, go right ahead. But what do you say we get back to this one? So for those not sure what a hoodoo is, in a very broad sense, it's basically just a hard layer of rock over a softer layer of rock. And over time, that softer layer gets eroded from underneath and it leaves you with sort of a little spire column kind of thing, and that's known as a hoodoo. Now, as for Goblin Valley, let's dive a little bit into the geology here. Upwards of 170 to 140-ish million years ago during the Jurassic period, this area of Utah was covered by a shallow sea. And this area in particular was sort of a tidal region of it. So there was a lot of sand, silt, and clay left in various deposits here. Over time, that hardened as sandstone, siltstone, and shale. Now that all became a part of a much larger layer of rock known as the Entrada Sandstone Formation, which includes a very large area and reaches beyond over near Arches National Park, which we'll get to in a bit. Those alternating layers of sandstone, siltstone, and shale are the reason why they weathered the way they did and gave it those rounded, weirded, dare I say, goblin-looking shapes that are different from most other hoodoos around. Like I said, nearby Arches National Park is a part of the same Entrada sandstone. However, those are the results of hardening sand dunes over the years. Hence, the water and wind erosion affected them very differently. You get fins there, you get goblins here. It's really cool how these rocks fracture to create these goblins. They fracture in these like rounded ways. So you're left with this like scoop pattern in the rock, which on a long enough time scale kind of erodes away, and you're left with this like protruding thing that you see kind of frequently around here. I think it's just the natural result of that scoop just weathering away. You're just left with this little point thing, but it looks really neat. As far as visiting here, like I said, it is in kind of a remote part of Utah. If you're coming from the west on I-70, it's toward the end of about a 100-mile stretch of no services. There is a town called Hanksville, about 20 miles from here, and Green River is about an hour from here. Moab's about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So just to give you some perspective. Once you get here, it is a $20 fee per vehicle. It is a state park, which unfortunately means that your America the Beautiful Pass will not work, but I can guarantee you that it's well worth the $20. As best I can tell, there's one main parking lot that sort of overlooks a valley with the goblin hoodoos in them, and from there a couple trails lead out. I started to walk on one of the trails, which at first seemed like it was going to be very clearly marked, and before I knew it, I saw footprints going in all different directions. So I kind of figured it's sort of a free-for-all here. You just walk around and treat the hoodoos with respect. Don't tamper with them. Don't do anything stupid, and just walk around and enjoy yourself. It felt very reminiscent of like the Ashi Wilderness over in New Mexico, where the trail just kind of stops and you just kind of wander around and do your thing, and soak it all in, because it seems like the more you walk, the more you stumble onto more hoodoos, and it's just great. It's awesome. When I left the main parking lot, there was a sign that said Valley 1. After that, there's really zero signage as you're wandering the hoodoos until I got far enough, and I guess I found Valley 2. We're gonna find out together what this sign says. Oh, Valley 2, okay. As far as I can tell, there's not a lot of named formations here. So it's probably like when you visit Valley of the Gods, you can kind of just name them yourself. Like this one kind of looks like a duck wearing that like Paddington bear hat. There's a lot of other different shapes and sizes, mostly phallic. So if you got a dirty mind, this is your place to name stuff. There is a section with, dare I say, more quote-unquote normal-looking hoodoos, because they're kind of coming out of the cliff face, which is a little more reminiscent of like Bryce Canyon, which we're probably more used to. They still have the rounded look to them, but since they're kind of embedded in the cliff, they look a little bit more like what we expect out of a hoodoo. Um, what's funny is that for this more normal section, I got kind of infatuated with it. I thought it was going to be the best I'd see, but the lighting was off, so I needed to wait for the sun to rise a little more. So I thought, oh, let me wander a little more, but I'll hurry back to this. I kept wandering and found Valley 2, which ended up probably being the highlight so far. So I almost cut bait too soon. This would have been really nice to see, but I'm glad I saw Valley 2. This is in the Utah desert, so I would say during the summer months, plan accordingly. It would get really, really hot out here. And also keep in mind for the weather. You're walking in a wash for lots of stretches, so I'm sure you don't want to be out here if there's monsoonal storms and things like that. As for me today, this is February, so when I got here in the morning, it was sort of in the low 20s. And now that the sun's gotten out and it's warmed up a little bit, it's actually really nice. It's a great day to walk around and check out some goblins. If you're so inclined, there is a campground on site. This is a holiday weekend, so it was booked, but I did notice that later in the week it's open. So if that's your thing, it's an option for you. And if flying a drone is your thing, you can actually do that here legally. Most parks don't allow drones. However, there is a catch. You do have to purchase a $10 permit to do so. However, there are a couple of hills that you can climb, get a bird's eye view, so you can save yourself the $10 if you're not into it. It's also worth noting that there's very, very spotty cell service in like the parking lot area and parts of the drive leading up. As you're exploring the hoodoos, zero cell service. I haven't had any this whole time. It is worth noting that even though it is kind of remote, it's still a very popular park. When I got here in the morning, there were very few cars in the parking lot. I really didn't run into anybody. After a couple of minutes, I was on my own. But now that I've been here for a few hours, I'm starting to see, I'm running into more people and things like that. Not horrible, but just something to note. Overall, I enjoyed my visit here, checking out the hoodoos, just kind of wandering around with no real path or agenda. I've been here for a few hours now. It's been great. As far as this place, I would highly recommend it. If you're making a Utah trip, incorporate this one in there. Well, that does it for this one. Thanks for joining me on this trip to Goblin Valley State Park. I hope you found it interesting, hope you found it informative, and maybe it'll encourage you to come check it out yourself. With that said, I guess I'll see you on the next one. Now, for anybody that enjoys science fiction satire and has a keen eye, you might recognize this place from the movie Galaxy Quest. When they land on the rock planet and they get chased by the aliens that look like rocks, this is where they filmed it. It was not filmed at the Alabama Hills like I previously thought, and I'm glad I fact-checked myself before I posted that on my US 395 video.